Okay, at last, new video. Where were we? Oh yes, the gearbox. Before we go any further and close everything, we need to replace the bearings, the main journals, upper crankcase as well, and of course the conrod bearings for the crankshaft. I have all the brand new bearings here. These are for the conrods. These all are for the joints. Categorize them as crankshaft up and crankshaft low, because it's a bit different. The top with the low ones, they have the hole on a different spot. These ones have line, while the top ones, I don't think they have one. I don't have the old ones to show you, but anyway. And you can see that, you know, the first 5 digits before the first dash is the number where the part belongs. Then the second part identifies how it is orientated, top, bottom, left, right, or whatever. So this is the difference we have here. If it's the upper, we have B6, B10, well, we have 6B00 for the low ones. And the last 3 digits in Suzuki parts always, it's the color code, which we don't have any colors. They're not painted, but we do have a slight color on the side, as I showed you in the previous video. So this is for brown, 0C0. Black, it's 0B0. So let's put these in there. So let's remove the old ones. Clean them with a clean cloth. And as I have the old sheet with my notes that I kept when I dismantled the engine, I have from sitting riding position brown, brown, black, black, brown, and black. So I have brown, brown, black, black, brown, and black. And let's do that, upper and lower crankcase. Let's start with the lower crankcase. So this is brown and this is brown. Let's start with this. Brown crankcase, low, it's 6B. Make sure you touch it with clean hands. That's why I'm wearing gloves. And always make sure you check with the old one that the hose is on the right place. This is impossible to happen if you buy brand new parts, but sometimes you miss the top with the bottoms, and it happened, and people got seized engines. Remember that little notch? That one goes right in here. I know I'm saying a lot of details while I'm doing these procedures. I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just that people who haven't done it before and they want to know, it's good to tell them. And this is why I'm trying to be so specific when I say things. It's for these people, not for you guys that you know much better than myself what are you doing when you open and restoring an engine. And then we have black over here. Crankshaft low, B00 it's for low, B10 it's for up crankcase. And to speak the truth, the black part here. And we have another black here, lower. Make sure it's flush as possible. If it's tenths of the millimeter not being flushed, don't worry, once the upper crankcase comes, it will make it even. So the next one is brown, and let me show you the color. It's quite brown. And the last one is black. And we're all done with that. Now we have to go to the upper crankcase. And we have from left to right, brown, brown, black, black, brown, black. Let's do that. Brown, crankshaft up. And there's the distinguished difference from the bottom ones. These ones, they do not have the hole. So you can easily put these upside down and then your engine is seized. Align the notch, push it all the way down both sides. We're done. Perfect. Done. And this is what happens when you don't pay attention and you get rushed. I removed joints 2 and 5 bearings because they do have these jets here. These jets have O-rings, so I have to remove them and take the O-rings out to replace them. The code for the O-rings is that one. So let's move one. That's one. and we need to replace that O-ring right there. That's the O-ring. It's the one. Lubricant, slide it in there, push it in place, it sits nicely, and then we fit the bearing. And of course I realized that I have two more, which I had no idea. So next time be more careful than I am. And now let's go to the upper crankcase. So we have a few more on joint 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then we have that there on joint number 6, and then on top of joint number 1, that one. So we have to remove all these 6 and replace them. Now we push them out. This is the one we need to replace, the O-ring. This is the code in which you need to replace it. Just make sure that cat facing upwards on these ones. These two to be replaced. That's the code, that's how it came from Suzuki. And before I start assembling everything, I'm gonna lube everything with engine assembly lube. Supposedly it doesn't run all over the place, and it provides good lubrication through the very first 5-10 seconds that your engine needs after a restoration. One more thing we need to do is to put these two thrust bearings. It's on joint number 2, upper crankcase 1 and 1, and I remember these were both green. And yes, they were both green, as you can see here. That's where the color is. Now this side, it provides, these grooves provide lubrication on the side of the crankcase, of the crankshaft, and they prevent him from going sideways. So one is here, and as you can see that goes on the outside, but you can't really hold it in place. So the only way to hold it in place is apply some grease at the back and push it there, and it will stick. But before we put the crankshaft there, we have to put the on rods. And that's yellow, that's the code for yellow. Remember, the letters look on this side. Okay, it's 49 to 53 Newton meters for the cone rods. I'll go with 53. So we have 40, 50, 1, 2, 3. It's much easier for me to put the crankshaft onto the top crankcase, and then holding the crankshaft out in place along with the crankcase, flip it and put it in there so the thrust bearings are in place. It's much easier to go that way than try to put the crankcase with the thrust bearings all in one go. It's gonna be extremely difficult, I can see it coming. So I believe that's the way to go. Now, things we need to look after in order to assemble the two crankcases. On this bearing, this pin should be on this side, and on this bearing should be on that side, so it can be accepted by one and two spots. Another thing is that I marked the center of that hole, because if they're not straight on top of the engine, the crankcases won't close because of these pin locks. That's one, and that's number two here. So these two bearings have to be like that, upwards. So after I put the slider, the chain tensioner in place, I have to put these two in there, and since I'm gonna flip this, they're gonna fall. They're quite loose. So the only way to hold them in place is, I'm guessing, some grease. They go that way. I'll show you again. Forgot something important. That's a brand new chain. That's the code. Okay, and after trying to figure out how I'm going to put it on, eventually it was difficult, but eventually the crankcases are on. Tightening. Well, tightening, Suzuki suggests initial tightening the 6mm bolts, which are those with 10mm socket. Initial tightening 6 Newton meters, and the bigger ones, the ones that they have, are 8mm stem with 12mm socket. 13 Newton meters, and after that, after you do this, you have to go 13 Newton meters on these ones and 24 Newton meters on these ones. That's the final tightening, and that is the end of it. Now, I've done it by hand, the initial. I'm not very fast with these things because I don't have a smaller than this. I have one, but it doesn't really work and I don't trust it. So let's go with that. These two are the only ones Allen, so I have to use that. So fifth is this one, then sixth is this one, I have seventh this one, eighth, as you can see over there, nine, and the rest are 6mm, 10mm socket. However, the service manual of Suzuki on this motorcycle does not show any sequence of tightening. So all I have to do is just use my common sense and tighten the 6mm bolts with common sense. And this is what I have so far. I have the crankshaft, I have the con rods in there. I don't have anything else. But this is good for me to keep me going. I need to put the clutch and the whole system. Small break here. I'd like to introduce you Ken from the United States. He's a restorer and he is restoring an FZR1000 one of the very first FZRs. He's doing a fantastic job with his motorcycle. He's very thorough and I believe it's worth checking on his channel. I like to see more and more people restoring these pieces of history. It's amazing. I'll put a link in the description below for his channel. Time to put that seal over there. Code. That's the one. I applied some grease around the surface. And you can always use tools. This is for ball joint removal and installation, and it fits perfectly here, so it sits perfect. Now let's put this in there, but I'm gonna put a bit of a glue in there. And things become easier to push as we have the sockets for that job. Perfect. Wipe the excess and all good. But now I have to focus a bit more on the cylinders because they're quite rusty, the color is faded, and they need some work on the inside. As you can see, there are a few marks but no cracks or lines that indicate they're gone. So that's a good start. Let's see what we can do with them. And I'm using my favorite of all tools, the sandblasting machine. I'm using glass beads so they won't smash the aluminium surface. I know a bit of etching would be nice because of the color to have a good grip, but still that's it, more than enough. I'm going to use etch primer to do the whole job. So far so good. And after quite a bit sandblasting, this is the end result. No color left. There are some spots here and there, but nothing a good paint job cannot fix. There are lines in the cylinders as you can see, but this is the next part. But as you can see, everything's clean and nice. The cylinders on the inside a bit of rust because I left them for a year and a half, but then again you can see there are some marks for where the operation of the piston rings was, but apart from that there's nothing else. All I have to do is just a bit of scuff with this little tool. Magic. I have to tighten it a bit, lubricate the surface of the tool, and then lubricate very well the cylinders themselves. Very low speed on the drill and quick up and down stroking movement to create the line that we need. Quick wipe and see how we look. And this one looks pretty good actually. So let's go for 3 more. In order not to leave any residue of the glass beads, which would be catastrophic, I'll put it on the ultrasonic cleaner for 20 minutes. Like everything else that needs painting, masking is a necessary and time-consuming procedure. Here I'm using just a masking tape, and with the edge of that eraser I use the sharp edges of the cylinders in order to cut the excess. I do that on the bottom as well, as you can see, and then I'm going to cover all cylinders with masking tape all around them so they won't get sprayed. And we're ready to spray. Let's do it. And I'll use the heat gun to speed up the process of drying the primer. Quite far, because these heat guns can be quite hot. So a distance of 60-70 centimeters, it's safe. And final coat, Ariel 7021. and I have to turn upside down the cylinders in order to spray everything and cover all surfaces. Next thing, remove the carbon deposit and in general clean the pistons, remove the rings and put new rings on, get them ready. And if you can see, there is no carbon deposit in the green grooves, so all we have to remove is up here a bit and mostly at the crown of the piston. And ultrasound cleaned for 20 minutes. And as you can see, there is no residue left at all on the piston. That's the way I like things. Very clean, very smooth. Every little corner is done. But this is the end for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe or comment. Look after yourselves and families. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.